Back in 1974, a young law student lived a double life. By day, he was the charismatic man everyone admired. By night, he was a cold-blooded killer who murdered young women without leaving any trace behind. But no one saw the darkness hiding behind his confident smile. Today, True Evil Crime presents the story of Theodore Robert Bundy, aka Ted Bundy, a man who became one of America's most notorious serial killers. We'll uncover how he used charm as a weapon and how his killing spree finally came to an end. To understand the monster, you must first know the man. But what if that man was nothing more than a lie from the very beginning? See, Ted's life was built on lies from the day he was born. As a child, he believed his grandparents were his parents and his mother was his older sister. This was done to hide the truth about his birth. It was the first of many secrets in his life. He grew up in a home where the man he thought was his father was violent, and the woman he thought was his mother struggled with mental illness. Together, they created a home filled with chaos. The fights, the lies, never stopped, and young Ted absorbed it all. But the chaos wasn't just at home. From a very young age, a dark side started to show. Picture this: 3-year-old Ted standing over his sleeping aunt, surrounded by kitchen knives, just smiling. And it didn't stop there. Neighbors later remembered him as a cruel kid who liked hurting others. There were stories of him hanging a stray cat, setting it on fire, and scaring little kids in the woods until they screamed for help. These weren't harmless pranks. They were the first clear signs of a mind with no empathy. This was the boy who would grow into a monster. But there's an even bigger question hiding in the shadows. What could turn a seemingly normal college student's life upside down and trigger his path to becoming a killer? For Bundy, it didn't happen all at once. It built up slowly, fueled by a painful breakup. While studying psychology at the University of Washington, he fell in love with a wealthy classmate named Diane Edwards. She had everything he wanted: money, status, acceptance. But in 1968, she broke up with him, saying he had no ambition. The rejection hit his ego hard. Soon after, he dropped out of college, started traveling, and, experts say, began watching violent pornography, all while holding on to the pain of losing her. The man, who was once rejected for not being enough, started chasing a new terrifying goal. But this still doesn't explain how he became so good at killing. How could a law student with no criminal record suddenly begin committing murders so perfectly that he left nothing behind? That's the part that still bothers investigators. Experts now believe Bundy didn't start killing in 1974, like people first thought. They think he had been hunting for victims earlier, maybe in the early 70s. The confidence and the skill he showed in his first known murders were not from someone new to killing. Bundy even hinted to a detective that by 1974, he had already learned how to attack and murder women without leaving evidence. His first known attack was on Karen Sparks, an 18-year-old student. He beat her unconscious, left her for dead. But this was only the beginning. After a month, he took his first confirmed victim, Linda Ann Healy. The murders had begun, and the most terrifying part was how he did it, while everyone around him had no idea. How did a killer work so openly, taking women in the middle of the day, and even in crowded public places, without anyone noticing? Bundy's smartness, or maybe his most evil side, was how he used charm and pretending to be weak as a weapon. He didn't hide and watch his victims from a distance. Instead, he pretended to be hurt, often wearing a fake cast or using crutches, and asked people to help him carry books or packages to his car. He was good-looking, spoke well, and seemed harmless. He was the kind of guy no one would say no to. He used this trick to kidnap 2 women, Janice Ott and Denise Naslund, from a busy park called Lake Sammamish State Park, all in one afternoon. People saw him, a friendly young man named Ted with a Volkswagen Beetle. But they didn't know he was a monster, leading his victims to death. He had gotten very good at tricking people, but soon something shocking would expose his fake mask. How did a chance encounter with a police officer and an observant victim finally lead to the capture of a man who seemed untouchable? The first break in Bundy's perfect act came from an amazing show of bravery. In November 1974, he tried to kidnap 18-year-old Carol Durange by pretending to be a police officer. He tried to handcuff her, but she fought back and miraculously escaped. Her clear description of him and his car gave the police their first real lead. Less than a year later, a Utah Highway Patrol officer stopped Bundy's Volkswagen for a traffic problem and found scary items: handcuffs, rope, and a ski mask. The pieces were finally coming together. But even after being caught, Bundy wasn't done. The story takes a shocking turn when he escapes from jail. Not once, but twice. How could a convicted killer escape from a secure courthouse and then from a maximum security prison, only to resume his killing spree? Bundy's first escape was almost funny. While acting as his own lawyer, he just jumped out of a second-floor courthouse window and ran into the nearby forest. They caught him again a few days later. But his second escape was much bolder. He lost enough weight to squeeze through a small hole he had cut in the ceiling of his cell. Then he crawled through the pipes and got out through a closet in the jailer's apartment. He stayed free for weeks, and this time he wasn't just running away. He was ready to kill again. He went to Tallahassee, Florida, where he committed his most notorious attacks. This leads us to the important moment that finally ended his story. His last rampage in Florida was full of violence, ending with the terrible murders at the Chi Omega sorority house. But in his hurry, Bundy made a mistake that would finally catch him. During the attack, he left a clear bite mark on one of his victims. That one piece of evidence matched perfectly with his dental records, a big moment in forensic science. When police stopped him for a routine traffic check in a stolen car, the truth came out. He was Ted Bundy, the man everyone had been searching for. The bite marks, along with many eyewitness reports and other evidence, led to his trial. The man who had talked his way out of every situation was finally caught. He was found guilty and given the death sentence. Even as his life was ending, he tried one last time to control the story. In his final hours, he admitted to killing 30 people across several states, though many believe he killed even more. Ted Bundy's story is a chilling reminder that evil can hide where you least expect it. It's the story of a man who, in his own words, was an entity, a dark force, hiding behind a normal face. The man who was once a respected law student was a monster who terrorized the country. And in the end, it was a simple bite mark that finally stopped him.